Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 186, Midwifing a New Humanity with Leadership, Empowerment, and Unconditional Love. How do you bring your most powerful self forward from conception into pregnancy? What ways can you allow your birth to restructure and change the world? How do you own your pregnancy into birth? Are you and your baby ready for it? I have a special guest, I'm going to say it right. Anasuya. Say it for me, please. It sounds so beautiful when you say it.
You got it, Anasuya.
Wonderful.
Thank you for having me here, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And I'm going to read your bio. Let's see. Anasuya Yogini, Denise French, is a seasoned doula, birth keeper, and childbirth mentor with over 30 years of experience, having attended more than 500 births. Based in South Florida, Anasuya operates offering comprehensive services in, I'm not going to say these towns right, Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach counties.
Dade
I love
County.
this. Yeah. In 1989, as a 26-year-old lawyer in Campinas, Brazil, she faced a transformative birthing experience despite being part of a squatting position study group led by Dr. Hugo Sabatino. The hospital's interventions contradicted her natural birthing plans. This ordeal, lasting 26 hours, inspired her commitment to empower women in childbirth. I love that. And Anasuya dedication extends beyond traditional doula service. She offers birth mentor packages, preparing mothers and partners throughout prenatal birth, postpartum periods, recognizing the importance of birthing rights. She initially attended many births as a contracted lawyer, defending the rights to birth in peace. This unique fusion of legal expertise and birthing advocacy defines holistic empowering approach, ensuring every woman can navigate childbirth and knowledge and confidence. Oh my gosh. Like, I love that. Thank you for being the lawyer and the birth worker. Like, what an amazing combo. Especially nowadays. Yeah.
I didn't plan that happen to me.
I want to share how I met, because a lot of my guests, I'd say 99.9% of my guests are invited. People don't think about that. I see an energy. I want to be a part of it. I want my community to be a part of it. And I don't even know how I found you through Instagram. I have no idea. And I don't know if you followed me and I followed you, because I want to follow all the birth workers especially. And I saw this video and it like transformed me. I had a visceral response, and you responded off of my visceral response. And I think that's where I felt like, oh, I need to I need to know this woman and see. I didn't even know your background very much at all. I just saw your presence and your just glow. And I want to say it was two sisters, or was it two sisters?
I remember this one.
Yeah.
Yes, was one of the home birth. Yes,
I
where
was like in
a
tears.
sister support
Yeah.
a sister. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in tears, like that moment of like, oh my, like it was the most beautiful thing I've seen in a very long time. And I was going, just the love. And I think probably because for me, I didn't have anything like that, like in that way. I don't have a sister. My family doesn't really care. They're just like, they're in their own world. But then I was like, just my heart was like, oh my gosh, like the beauty, the love, that support, like women coming together, sister. And it was just so like they were both giving birth together. It was like so amazing. And I'm sure other people may have felt this. Like, how could you not? And then I remember your response was you used the word empath. Like and I was like, oh, she sees me. I was like, that felt really nice to be seen. And like I
Wow.
could share a real feeling without being made fun of or am I being ridiculous? It was just like, oh, I really felt that video. And I was like, wow, it was so impactful. And then I was like, who is this woman? She needs to come on my podcast.
Oh my gosh, I feel honored here. I feel really honored that you invite me to talk. And I do not know, Kelly, what make us to our encounter, even though it's virtually. I just know that there is no coincidence.
Hmm.
There is no coincidence that we got to be here because your path and my path is spiritual, and
Hmm.
we are here making connection, and we are listening what is going on, and we are being true to what we believe, and
Mhm.
that's what put us together. But about that video, I just want to mention, Kelly, that okay, you saw just a video, few minutes of a
Mhm.
moment,
Yeah.
but how to get to that moment? What had to be done to get to that moment? You know, what kind of preparation to get to that moment? What people, because it is a innate ability to birth. Women has that, but was taken away. So how to restore that belief? How to put a community? How to family that is so fearful in a society of fear can then listen to a family member that made the connection to say, please support me. This is what I want. And that is what I decided to work not just as a doula in the moment of birth, but to do the whole preparation, to take every technique necessary for people to answer their own doubts, to do the evidence-based research and see. So when they are liberated, to let everything to happen as nature bring it to it.
Mm.
And let me make a parenthesis here. I do a lot of uh, water birth. When I say I do, I support a lot of water birth because I believe to bring comfort to women.
Mm.
But water birth is not natural. We know that. If not, we women will be running to like the Amazon Indians. In Brazil, I saw a lot of native Indian birthing.
Wow.
They they are not going into the river and jumping and have the baby, right?
Mm.
So, but it is about comfort. So it's just what I say nature is to not have the intervention that it is to break the connection of the process because they all have a meant to bring that woman to be able to really, and I say, people, Anasuya, don't have pain in birth. Yes, but there's a different definition of pain. It's like a pain pleasure process. Is to allow that all the hormones that were present in the moment of conception of that baby to be present when baby arrives.
I love the way you just said that pain pleasure. I definitely experienced that in my second home birth for sure. And I had the rush of like, because I'm very highly sensitive to feeling. And so I could feel in between the contractions, like it felt like ecstasy. Like it felt like here. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I did MDMA back in my 20s. It felt, it felt like that feeling of serotonin and a rush. And it felt like it was really fascinating to be in observation and presence with it because in between, I don't think women know that because, we're going to get deeper into it, is that birth is so interrupted, especially in a hospital setting. And I've been really speaking more about the birth setting. And I know some women will be like mad at me for saying this, and I'm okay with that, is that if we're birthing in hospitals, we're birthing with fear. You can't argue that away from the energetic space that I see. And there's no shame in that. I birthed my first was a home birth transfer in the hospital. Oh, and there was a shitload of fear. And it was like chaotic and it was dark. And it was one of the biggest traumas of my whole life. And I'm not trying to scare women in birth, but it really brought a different perspective in my healing journey. Whereas my second birth, it was like night and day, completely different. I was, deepening into the trust of my body, what my lineage has showed me, what the culture had showed me about birth, the fear. And it was just so entrenched and washed into my cells and my mind. Even though I knew there was other ways, it's like there was no merging of both parts. And I want to hear, and I've talked about this on the podcast for years, just little pieces of my own birth experience. But, what was your drive? You talk about lawyer to birth advocate to midwife to spiritual midwife to, what was this journey like? You shared something in the bio about birth. So I'm curious, is like, what was your experience like? I'm sure you're having to fight for whatever you want or whatever it looked like. And what fueled you? What kept you like, yeah, staying even connected to yourself, like in that?
Wow, so many. Basically, Kelly, I do believe that in order for you to making a human being, it is also to discover a new self, the self that you never explored. So it is a journey of self-knowledge too, to be contacting and connect with your wisdom, something that was dormant there, wake up, you know. In my personal case, and I think it happened to a lot of women, they change, they feel inspired. In my case, it is really awakening in the moment that I was being intimidated, because it's a lot of intimidation, for me to go into a C-section, because I had passed the 42 weeks mark at 40 weeks, right? I was in 42 weeks negotiating to have this normal birth, and not even a vaginal one. I want a normal, no medicalized at
Mm,
all, you know. And the doctors not want to give me my chance to wait for me to do so. So once then I fight for signing the release of liability to everybody to leave me in peace. Then finally, I had my baby by myself in a squat position with no care providers around in the hospital, with being threatened that if something can
mm,
happen to the baby, they will call the police for negligence of a
wow.
mother and separate the baby from me, with that environment. So as a young lawyer, having my first baby in that environment where I had to fight for my right to have a physiological and beautiful moment. And I took in my mind, I said, okay, if without the knowledge of my rights, I got all this intimidation, what they are doing for other women that don't have understanding of what it is to be really high risk or low risk birth.
Mm,
And the process started that I started investigating more. So my studies about my rights in birth and women rights start after I
mm,
had my baby. And then the TV want to interview me. I stay front page in a magazine because that will become sensationalism, because there is a documentary that were done at the time. This was 1989, by the way, and in Brazil.
wow.
So imagine everybody there is like in a assembly line. You don't cut it, take it out. And now I get there and I said, I sign anything for you guys to leave me alone,
Mm,
with no support of anyone, alone. Even
wow.
family became against what I was doing. Everybody think this woman went crazy, you know. So I think that was this awakening. It's like I had this communication with my baby. I knew I was well. So I had this
Mm,
perfect baby with really a beautiful score, you know. I squat, have my baby, hold my baby, and then after that, nobody could touch us
mm,
because I became a lion by protecting, But and then it started a process of I did give this interview for TV where doctor said that what I did, it is danger to, imagine vertical position to have a baby. I could have rupture of my, it's a lot of things that is no evidence based was said in TV,
mm,
you know. And then women that had trauma in birth, and the story is similar in that hospital that contact me. Listen, I have my second pregnancy. We didn't have midwife, by the way, there.
Mm-hmm.
The only chances is free birth or going to the hospital. And this
Mm-hmm.
was a hospital university that was more humanized as possible because it had other doctors doing a specific study of humanization. So the Hugo Sabatino that you just said was an Argentinian doctor that was doing a humanized study for natural birth.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that the hospital accepted his philosophy or his studies or his evidence base. But I was like the guinea pig to him, you know?
Wow.
And I really don't have a specific answer in terms of how I got my awakening, but I got my
Mm.
awakening at my birth. When I
Yes.
realized everything was a fear base, everything was obstetric violence and intimidation, was that fear being projected to me, and was a society not trust women ability to birth and naturally. So in base of that, I see it, Kelly, as not only awakening in terms of wisdom about natural birth, but it is my spiritual awakening
Mm.
because I see birth being a church for me. Is what I felt God,
Mm.
what I felt a lot of protection, but in a spiritual
Mhm.
level, because it's not cognitive, was not
Mhm.
in the brain, was
Mhm.
not in my knowledge as a lawyer. It was not about seeing the articles of what it is criminal, not criminal, what is liability, not liability. I felt this is a soul, and I bring this soul. I should receive love, support,
Mm.
embrace. I felt I was healthy. And when somebody's saying that I'm not, that I needed to cut me in half to take that
Mm.
baby, I said, prove to me. And they didn't have
Mm.
anything substantial to tell me that my baby was not in danger. I was not in danger. I was in a hospital. I didn't have any high blood pressure. So I was not a high risk because yes, if you are a high risk mother, go to the hospital. Guys, I'm not against a C-section. It is there to save lives and they save lives. But to normalize it,
Mm.
93% of the population in Brazil is having a C-section and in
Incredible.
private
Wow.
hospitals, right? And in some places where they do not allow the midwife in the villages in the Amazon, whatever, that woman have to take a boat to go to the hospital and go to a C-section because they do not, doctors go there once a month. So some places 100% C-section rate.
Wow. I know, I've heard of this. We were talking about that earlier. I remember 10 years ago when I became more of a birth advocate through my own experience, hanging out with the midwives and doulas of Los Angeles County, California. And I heard these different things and I was like, it's so hard to believe. It really is that. And I know you're saying it became like, it's like a culture, like it's a thing. And it makes me go into the energetic aspect of it, right? Like Carolyn Mace, medical intuitive. Have you ever seen she's gone into back in the 90s? She would look at like world countries and why they were sick or why they all collectively hold energy. And it is very curious. What is the collective energy? It's like the portal of life, the sacredness, the soul, you know, yeah, there's so much more to say about that. But when you were speaking to me, it's like you were a pioneer in that time, and how scary it probably was too. Like everybody's against you, and we know with the media, it's a denser vibration, so they're going to play and spin the energies the way they want, and yet you held your energy, right? You held it in a way because you knew that spark of light inside you was telling you something else, and I feel like that's probably what you bring now is that level of how do we then come back to that trust? Because we hear the word consent a lot. More than 10 years ago, no one talked about consent, right?
Mhm.
It's like, what
Right.
does that even mean? And women are scared. I've actually had women, friends of people, and just referrals and just wanting to like they're scared of like, oh, this is an interesting thing because California's got a lot of, and I'm not going to go deep in the vaccine conversation, but in California, there's a lot of strict rules with a lot of things with that, with children. And I've had these people coming through going, well, how do I navigate to not get my baby, all these injections? And my response is you just say no. but women can't do that. What do you think that is?
Well, there is, again, the intimidation is there, but it is a society that where science became, do not allow any other wisdom to come in. So they wanted to not to grow. They want to stay where they are, and that's what it is. So it's a boxing. It's not it's not growing. It's the same thing. The same thing of 1989 got worse. So there is
Mm,
no evolution. And now with the pandemic era, I'm sorry, this personal opinion I have to say, we we digress, we went back. We came here in where I am, the South Florida. Wow, a lot of midwives, they have to leave this area because it became so a witch hunt through the
mm,
process of I'm talking the private
mhm,
midwife, right? That this, not the CNM, but the private one that does home birth. It is a lot of regulations now,
mm,
in terms of what they can do or not. So what I want to say is this medicalization, this
mm,
control, and not knowing what we call what this will happen in consequence of this baby receiving all this chemical, because it's chemical,
mm,
okay, on this in the process of development. And we're talking about even the brain.
mm,
We know, what I know is we need that baby for 3 years
mm,
to finishing, maturing the brain. I'm not talking about the front lobe that is 25 years. I'm talking about that it is the download of the breast milk of the mother
mm,
in that brain. So how much you want that human being to be intelligent is finishing. We are not like the other animals. We need to born and continue being finishing the completion of the physical body. And that requires that attachment and the purity of what goes inside that baby. So much
mm,
that we discussed the diet of the mother to provide that vaccination, natural vaccination, that is the breastfeeding. And a lot of people ask me, if we are talking about not to break that connection, why we are
mm,
injecting babies when the brain is being formed?
mm.
And so people ask me, Anasuya, how long should I breastfeed? And that is my answer. How much you want your baby to be intelligent, to be
I like
completely
that
formed,
answer.
you know, because 3 years minimum, you know. Now, our society here in America is designed for this family to fail. There is no support for family unit to generate life. There is none. It is abuse, it is violent, it is aggressive, it is absurd what they do.
Mm,
So women stay here holding as much as they can, working, working, work, to have 30 days with that baby after the baby being born.
mm,
This is okay. I don't have a word for this, but it is clear that I'm not judging anybody in terms of I cannot breastfeed. Yes, they can't, because they have to put food in the table. They have to go to work.
mm.
So this system is broken. So if you ask me
Yeah.
to this, say, how can you fight the system? That's what should be the question. Yeah, you can
Mm,
say no, but then what? What will you do? You have to educate your baby at home and do. And we go talk now about a lot of other things that this family have to do in order to create a healthy, no, baby with the unique good food, good education, because the system,
mm,
it is what it is. And they are not accepting new wisdom so
mm,
much that a
mm,
midwife is considered a witch until today. They
mm,
do not
mm,
accept. When a midwife have to transfer a woman for some reason to the birth, to the hospital, I'm sorry,
mm.
many of them are not well received by
Oh no,
doctors.
I went through that. I'll have to tell you
You
that
know?
story later.
Yeah. So So it is ridiculous. We're talking about a person that has so much wisdom, so much experience, and it is so specialized in the healthy woman, you know. There is doctors that never saw a natural birth ever.
I've heard, yes.
They don't teach that in university. They teach a man to just doing
Surgical.
the cesarean surgery. They are
Yeah.
surgeons. So we
Yeah.
have the midwife for healthy women, and they have the surgeon to save lives. But we are having in the United States a lot of the majority of healthy women birthing hospital for people that are sick.
Mm.
But I'm sorry, I deviate about the vaccines in child, but uh, family, for you to raise somebody naturally today, from the beginning of their life, you have to be an activist, a revolutionary.
Mm.
You have
Mm.
to redesign your whole lifestyle because the system will reject you.
Absolutely. So many things you've said. This is what we need to hear collectively. This is where we need to move into even more than before of how I know the systems are shit. And yet I've known that for more than 20 years, as you've known more than longer than me. And yet, I do feel like the pandemic has shifted people to be more assertive and more outspoken, which is really fascinating. Um, and I've even felt it myself having to defend my health rights over this time in my community and city and just where everything was going and feeling kind of separate, but also knowing in my own divine truth was telling me, stay where you are. Like, don't waver. There's no need to waver. The fear is so big in birth. And this is the big thing. It's just always gets me is like, and I have to watch my anger because I get so upset about maternity systems, especially in America, and how women and men are just kind of go along with it. And then I know that the rates of the death of mothers is higher now than babies. And it's kind of like people think, oh, America's so smart. I'm like, if they're so smart, but again, it's like you said, the systems of science put into place and they change, which is really fascinating, is that science always changes and people do worship it. It is a religion. We should literally put it up in the religion category because
Kelly,
that's what happens. Yeah.
I remember here, let me share this with you. We're talking about science, but the people that are making the laws, they are not the scientists in birth.
Mm.
They are putting that fear in laws.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know? Midwives, if you have a breech baby, send it to the doctor, send it to the hospital, send it to C-section. They're not allowed the midwife to birth that breech baby that is
Mm-hmm.
feasible, not because it's breech that should not be having a natural birth, right? So they
Yeah.
know better. So all of that, what can be done or not. If it is twins, go to the hospital. Who said that twins cannot have birth at home? So the laws in place
Mm.
that regulates OBGYNs, regulates midwife, regulates the 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 people that should be there support women during birth. I'm talking about health women, okay? It is not done by anybody that understand about birth.
Mm.
So here we are, people totally disconnected, having that fear, and
Yeah.
now they spread by that law's fear to the women that she cannot know better because that's what is said to her,
Mm.
and they are not connect with the language that supports that woman to trust her body. How
And
many
this, yeah.
how many doulas came to me and said that her doctor said her baby is too big, or said
Mm.
at the 34 weeks pregnancy, saying, well, your baby's breech, let's start talking about C-section. When baby can change position, all the time, instead, and do not know how saying that can affect that woman
Mm.
and causes so much fear in that woman. There
I've,
is
ha-
no humanization. My word
yeah.
is humanization. People have to go back and professionals has a responsibility because we trust them. So what they say became what that women, and she's in a vulnerable time in her life, will believe.
Mm.
I do not know, it did not work for me. I did not believe them. But I thinking about the language now, and
Yeah.
I I have to really be aware when I talk to a pregnant woman, because not only she's listening, and you know better, the baby's listening. The baby's listening.
And I do, and I have, I find with pre-birth communication and pregnancy, it's such a guiding light, really, because you're literally moving inward with this real instinctual experience. And that's the piece I want to bring back forward to humanity is not that it's just intuitive and it's not even new age. I feel like it's instinctual. Like we're connected to our babies. How could we not be? And but what we've been taught and the fear of our bodies, it really begins in preconception. I feel like it's like this is where you do the work. But I know that I work with a lot of intervention conception. I mean, it's a really big business, and women are promised, they're promised an empty dream a lot of times, and a lot of trauma in the body and the hormone system and the heart space. And so it's a very interesting time we're in because there is a lot of intervention. Even as you know, I feel like, going to a hospital in a birth, like a woman shouldn't have to defend her space to go into that. It's like it fascinates me. And I've been writing a little bit more from an energetic, spiritual perspective, this foundational space of birth, what we've done to it collectively, because it's this traumatic, dangerous, diseased, and it's literally freaking human life. It's like angels are being birthed through people. Like it's the most incredible experience, but yet the fear, I get it. Everybody has a lineage of fear, ancestral like traumas, but we can heal those pieces through our birth, as it sounds like you have and I have too, because always being an energetic, sensitive empath, inner vision, like always dream space, daydream, night dream. At a very young age, I took all the knowledge and insight and brought it into the birth energy because of the birth of my firstborn. And his name is Rain. So I said the birth of Rain brought me into this work and brought this mission in a deeper way. And I always felt like I always know it was different anyways. But I always question like the beauty of the baby. Like, why would somebody do all this intervention on this little sweet being? And why would we put all these injections? Why would we cut skins off of body parts? Like, I'm like, because I have boys. So I'm like, why? Like, I questioned that all, and I sat with it, but the pressure from the outside world is really intense. Like, and if a woman is feeling weakened or vulnerable, she may just, make regrettable decisions that can be lifelong injuries, and that's really hard. And
It is, it
so
is.
how do you empower women? How about we'll go there? Like how do we get
Good question.
empowered? Yeah.
Well,
Like let's say someone's in a hospital birth or home birth or center birth. We didn't even talk about free birth. We won't may not have space for that one, but
well, I will tell you how women should be supported. All women should have another woman to support her. Um, and this was common. You know the story. I do not know if you listeners know about what doula is actually, and doula is part of what I do to support women, because doula is to be there at birth, or to do that in the postpartum phase, right? Giving emotional support, spiritual support, educational, informed support, giving education and everything. Because I understand the fear, because you said so well, there is a natural fear, all of us fear, mainly the women that are birthing for the first time, right? But, and the society is fearful, so everything is fearful. But I don't think that I am able to support a woman that is terrified and that doesn't want to really make a decision to find information, because I cannot birth for her. And I did that a lot, this mistake a lot in my lifetime, where I actually birth for women. I cannot convince somebody to do a natural birth. But when they
Mm,
are interested in get educated, then I am a doula for them. But when they are not applying themselves to the process, so what I believe is to be there even before she thinks and get pregnant. And I have some couples that contract before getting pregnant, to start preparing their mind and soul to understand what it is, this journey that nobody talks about, that it is to making a human being. So how it is this to be connected to another life that I am forming. But okay, those are rare cases of people that when they come to me, but I don't do hospital anymore. So
Mm.
personally, I don't believe that you can have a natural birth in a hospital.
Mm.
So, but I do believe, Kelly, that all women, even in the hospital, should have a doula, because there is a statistic that they did a long time ago, a study where they got 15,000 women, and then they found that 21%, I believe, of a presence of a doula, decrease the C-section rate,
I mean, yeah.
and yeah, it's a big deal. And 31% decrease the use of Pitocin.
Mm.
Just the presence of a doula. 90% avoided baby be transferred to the intensive care. Just the presence of a doula. 14% that I can say that diminish the necessity of women use pain medication.
Mm.
And in this study, also conclude something like 34% of women diminish that women not being satisfied with their birth experience. So of course, all women should contract a doula. But however, Kelly, just 3% of American women contracts doula.
Really?
Only
I thought it
3%.
would be higher.
No, 3%.
So you're saying that the doula can be the spiritual epidural, less or low to no intervention, and good care for baby, really. And we know that when we have the least amount of trauma, our bodies can heal more rapidly and have a better postpartum. And so I love doulas. I can't say enough about doulas. Every woman that comes in my space that does do a lot of intervention, and let's say they're in pregnancy or birthing, we're working together more deeply, I say, hey, do you have a doula? You need to get your doula. Like, to me, it's normal. Especially, I said, and I've been saying this for years, especially in a hospital setting. You need that energetic vortex. You need that person, honestly, to speak up for what your wish and desire is, because the other energies, it's like this glowing, this barrier, especially in a hospital. I go, wow, if you don't, and you know what upsets me sometimes? People say, no, my husband will do it. And I'm like, that's not fair. I said,
Not
that's
safe.
not fair. He's
No.
going through a birthing metaphorically. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw with my husband at our home birth, he gets anxious, right? And he gets,
Exactly.
yeah, and he's trying to stay grounded, but I released him of that. And especially in both births, I'm like, you know what? I had a midwife apprentice who's a doula, and I said, can you doula him? Because I need to go in my space. He needs his love. And
Exactly. A doula helps daddies too, because only they will feel less pressure. They will feel the anxiety go lower. So we are talking about, but of course you have to have a connection with that doula, right? I like the word birth keeper better, but doula is what everybody identify, and
you want a birth
not the
keeper. Yeah, we want birth keepers.
birth keepers, birth keepers.
Yes.
They call me the childbirth mentor because I do the childbirth education, I do the hypnosis, I do the prenatal yoga, mindful
Nice.
meditation
Yeah.
for pregnancy, the vocal toning, preparing the pelvic floor
Mm.
exercise that we do. Many of my doulandas, right? The doulandas. This is a word that I created because I don't use the word client at all.
I love it.
So they are not having any tear. So it's
Mm.
all of that. So the people that I work with, Kelly, they belong to 1.09% of the population. Is the people that felt, not that they don't have fear, not that they know everything, it's not that, but they made the big decision, the decision they want in their heart. They want a home birth. So we prepare for it. Because like I said, some people are so terrified that, so I think when they make that decision, they can use me better.
Yeah.
And then when we spend, it is a relationship that works or not work, because they are invited to the most intimate moment in their lifetime. Every time that they will talk about their kids, they will remember that I was there in that important moment. It is unforgettable. You know that as a mother.
Yeah.
You know, remember details. So how you want to remember your birth require for you to have a relationship. So I always say to my doulandas when they come to interview me for the first time, I said, well, you must fall in love with me. This is the only profession that
Oh.
I'm not gay, but this is a profession that we really fall in love with each other.
I'm like falling in love with you. I'm literally like, I want to have a baby just so you could be there.
It's like a
It is so
communication by
important. Yeah, to have that
it's a,
love, that woman, that mother figure, that energy.
exactly. Imagine I will be there, we'll be sweat together. They will, I say, if I may say here, vomit, pee, poop, whatever. It's so intimate, you
Yeah.
know. And I will not be talking, asking questions because that
Yeah.
woman is going to the primitive brain. So I need to
Mm.
read her. I need to look in
Mm.
her eyes and she look at mine. We are communicating.
You're very good at reading energy. I know that. And so I think that's everything as a doula, even a midwife. I remember my midwife, she was really quiet. She didn't say a lot. She didn't do a lot. At one point, I was like, is she sleeping or is she meditating? There was this moment in the dark room with very little lighting. I was just rolling on the ball, getting into close to the end of the big event. And I look around and I actually, for a moment, was like, I could never do this in a hospital. And zero. They would have to cut my son out. There's no way I could be open. I literally felt this huge vulnerability open up in me and just was like, nobody was looking at me. Nobody was judging me. I was just moving through and I had orgasmic energy moving through my hips. I was not expecting that at all. I was like, what is happening here? And I remember the midwife just went like this to me, like yeah, not a lot there. The communication is purely energy through movement, and you're right, because it's like if you're talking to me, I don't know what's happening, but I felt was so loved and respected in that second birth, and I really really needed that. And so
Imagine
yeah.
what you got, that ecstasy 2 hours before birth and 2 hours after birth is when happened this amazing ecstasy. And people say, oh, orgasmic birth. No, orgasm cannot compare.
Yeah.
This is so much high. It's a spiritual ecstasy, so much. In that moment is when women in hospital are numbing life
Yes.
passing through their life. That is that 2 hours before
Yes.
birth and after is when they feel all the hormones taking them to ecstasy.
Yeah.
And we
And
don't want to
yeah.
ask a question to women because we don't want her to go back and leave the primitive brain.
See, that's the piece women, I feel like maybe they can learn, but yeah, and women get scared. It's like, I know it's collective, like need the epidural. And it's like, well, like, how did you do that, Kelly? I said, well, I don't do good with medications. And so in my mind, there was no epidural that existed. It didn't exist because I knew if I was that person that were to go run to the hospital and do that, it would probably be really bad because I don't do well with that stuff. But then I told myself when I created this energy and thought process that there's no such thing as an epidural, I didn't even think about it, crave it, or run to it, nothing. I was just, okay, I'm just going to do natural. I did hypnosis, movement, things that you would do to just work with your body and birth your baby. Like to me, honestly, I remember when I had my firstborn, now 13 years, we just hit his 13th birthday this month. And I remember I went to a women's group in the West Side and they all looked at me like it was not my group of women. What do you mean you didn't have an epidural? Like, I don't even like know how you could. And it was like,
Wow.
I was definitely felt like an outsider in a lot of groups. That 13 years ago, there wasn't such a big home birth community. there was a few centers, but now it's incredible. I'm like, it's so amazing now. It's like there's so much more and it's more acceptable and
But
it's
you is
okay.
still, all of you is still unique. Trust
Yeah.
me. I'm studying the statistics. You continue very unique mind, unique souls that made the connection.
Mm.
Even though you feel it that is more because you are attracting your spiritual family, right? So you attract alike. But if you go and they study what is going on in the environment in the city and start the hospital and you know, it is not there yet. And I don't think that I will see any change in my lifetime, you know. And
I
I'm
think,
dealing with
yeah.
this since 1989. Every time that I meet, and that is why I have to be elective in what I do, because I
Mm.
confess I cannot be a doula in hospital, not because I don't think that all mothers deserve a doula. It's not what I meant. It's just that it is too difficult for my soul. I cannot witness obstetric violence anymore. I'm done,
Yes.
you know.
I mean, that's, you
So
said it's earlier we talked, I think we said it on the outside before we recorded, was it is criminalization, how did you say that? Criminalization. Can't say that
yeah,
word.
yes, it is. It is
Yeah.
such a all the statistics of C-section is a crime.
Yeah.
It is a crime because it's unnecessary and it is damaging. It's traumatic. Well, you are limiting that woman to produce. She believed that her body doesn't work, that she needed a C-section. And
Yeah.
it is not justifiable at all the reasons that they do.
Oh yeah, I
And
know.
we ask that the violence go higher, go in the line to justify this C-section. And
Yeah.
it is impossible that in South Florida, 70% of women need a C-section. It's impossible.
Well, you know that, so one of the things that come, I feel so much more outspoken than I've been in years, and maybe the pandemic was a good thing for me on that level. Like, push you, Kelly, like, are you going to keep, let's speak about this. But one of the things that comes up with women, and I've heard this so many times, one of the myths of birth is, my baby's too big for to give birth.
This is the common
And
one.
so you know what I tell women now, and they tell me this,
Mm.
I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you were tricked." I said, because your body, I do. I say, I'm so sorry you were tricked. That's my New York
Yeah.
part of me, by the way, because I'm from the East Coast. I said, I'm so sorry that you were tricked and that your body's not going to make a baby that you don't know how to birth. And then women are just like, what? Never thought about that. There's certain myths, right? It's like, now everything I notice energetically, even physiologically, it's all about inductions. That's the fancy thing. It's all about inductions because everything is dangerous. So we got to get the baby out. And then women are like, okay. And then I'm like, well, there's another myth. I'm sure, like you said, and we both agree that there should be rare instances of intervention, not the norm.
But Kelly,
And
that woman, she knows deep inside. It is difficult even to talk to them because they needed to believe that.
yeah,
They needed to believe it, that she needed that
yes. And
C-section.
a lot of women will say, well, the baby's cord was wrapped around their neck. And what is the percentage? That's pretty normal, huh? That's pretty normal. It doesn't mean your baby's going to die instantly. Or babies are born a lot, not breathing.
Gosh, they don't understand how baby breathe. They do
Yeah.
not know. Doesn't matter how much baby don't breathe the air, the lung is.
Mm.
So uh, it is absurd the what they tell to patient.
Yeah.
So it's like they are disrespecting their intelligence.
Mhm.
But they need to justify. My doctor said so. And if you go to the doctor and said, "Did you tell that?" They deny. They will deny
Mm.
because they know how ridiculous it is what they said. So now she misunderstood me,
Wow.
and this happened to me. This happened to me,
So
but
this,
not to me personally, but to someone that I know, and we questioned the doctor. And so and we don't want that woman now to feel guilty either,
yeah.
but we wanted to educate them because this is not us against anybody. This is like, guys, prepare for your birth. Just
Mm.
prepare for your birth. And actually, you don't need a hypnosis. You need to be dehypnotized because you already are hypnotized by the society of fear. But people do not value education or
Mm.
preparation. It is easy to put all that trust in the doctors. Even if you
'Cause
have a midwife, Kelly, in South
yeah,
Florida, and I love midwife, I love them, and I promote their service. But there is many that are medicalized. It's just change the
yes,
address.
that's true.
Because a woman that is connected should not even have a childbirth education because they don't need it. Less than they know would be better, right? If they trust themselves. They should be doing sun salutation, doing breathing properly, walk on the beach in South Florida, the best place to have a baby, swim, get magnesium, lay in the sand. That is the
Mm,
connection that they should be doing to have a baby, right? But they have now to be all this taking all that misunderstanding, demystify all what was said by the system. So it is like, okay, let me give you evidence base here. Let me give you evidence
mm,
base there. Study this. And when they come earlier to me, I make sure always that the last month of their pregnancy, they read nothing. They go to the nesting phase.
yeah.
Stop thinking. Make all your decisions before, and I help them to do all the decision. Put every birth team in the same page. Now that mother should be doing nothing, just nesting, so she can transition to the primitive brain.
I love that because, a lot of women, there's too much information out there. And I know a lot of I'd maybe say majority of women, they need science or they need that control or they need the information, which I'm not going to say don't research and do your information, but I'm a person that that doesn't research anything. And I think because I hear the collective energy and I just kind of move into trust. And I say that it's funny, I laugh about it now because I feel like it's more accepted, but years ago, how I thought and felt was like, "You're just crazy," or "You're stupid. You're stupid, you don't know." Because my instincts were telling me things, but I had no viable, like, data, like, charts and things, and I feel like we're coming back to that time even more. I know the new earth is shifting, that's a whole other
I trust
conversation.
that. I trust that. And
Yeah,
for people like you, I would say you don't need a childbirth education.
yeah.
Just go to the backyard, go to a farm, connect
Yeah,
with
because it's like the instincts, and I
it is
think I
instinct.
feel like we need to push, and maybe it feels extreme for women, and this feels really important. I want to push the extreme of free birth for some women that are terrified because I want you to see this energetic space in between that you can do it. You don't have to go free birth, but look and sit in the energy of potentiality and possibility is so freaking powerful,
It
right? And
is.
so
It
this is
is.
the space I'm like, these women that are going into those free birth because it feels natural and there's a connection. And, I'm done with having children, but I go, ooh, like I know I need someone there. Because when I birthed my son, it really was the intensity for me. It was his birthing was pushing on a lot of trauma lines in my body, literally physical scarring, and it activated a lot of stuff. And then I
Mhm.
thought, I literally was like, I birthed on a stool. I was literally like, this baby's just going to fall on the floor. Like, I had no capacity even to try to grab him. So I'm thankful that the midwife had my husband grab him and let him slide into his hands, without tugging or pulling, and then bringing him to me, So my husband was the first contact and he
And
brought him
that
to
that
me.
that is amazing that you said that because that's what it is. It is to this expansion within where the person that is supporting you is actually the mirror
Mm,
to remind you about everything that you already know,
I
but
love
you
that.
forgot it. You have the wisdom. I have nothing new to tell a woman. When she's connected, she doesn't
Mm,
need me talking, but
mm-hmm,
to reflect what she knows. That's
mm,
what I was telling about the
yeah,
decision. To first to make a decision in your heart, despite all the fear, but you made a decision and
yeah.
remember. So then is when that support feel that she's in a mission because now you know how to use that support.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why it's when you make the connection within. So you don't need somebody to tell you what to do, but to reflect what you know that it is for you.
I love it. We're coming close to the end. I feel like we could talk for hours. I wanted just a little plug for your documentary. Tell us the title, where
Oh,
people can find your documentary, and give us a little, like, what is it about? A little quickie.
well, it's no brainer that I said so much here about the high C-section rate, right?
Yeah.
It is about that. It is about that. It's the more than 6 reasons why the C-section rate in South Florida is going up to the roof and past, right? And it took me 7 years to put this together, and was all a series of um, contrast, because I'm talking about a serious problematic situation, of traumatizing Florida women, but showing amazing, blissful birth.
Love it.
So the scenes are incredible. I really would love to already tell where we are parking this movie, but I just signed with a company in California, you know, and
Mm.
they are to putting out together. Now we got the certificate from our home movie became a professional movie, technically putting, everything together. And as soon as I know we need to get back here, Kelly, I needed to tell you when that the location and where to go. The name is Squeezing Orange: The Awakening of Childbirth.
Mm.
Okay? And we are in South Florida, a lot of oranges here, but let's stop squeezing women and cutting them in half, right? And
Wow. Yes.
that it is the movie, and I really think that is educational and very interesting, because the people that I'm interviewing is their lives. They were so kind to
Mm.
trust me to have what you are doing too, Kylie, is interviewing people with their reality, because so we can have this humanization by understanding that we are really living our lives in a real world with love, and allowing to free our oxytocin, the real hormone
Mm.
of love, together.
Well, please share your contact information too, website, email, Instagram, whatever your social medias are.
Yes, humble, 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 because I made it my website myself, guys. Feel free to check it out. It's www.anasuya.online. Line it together. Anasuya.online. So it's ANASUYA.online. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Again, I feel like we could keep going. There's so many awesome little pieces to keep unfolding. And, I want your documentary to blow it out the roof here. Like, this is
Oh,
information we
thank you so
need.
much,
So
Kelly.
whatever, I'm going to be in touch with you to support this vision. It just, to me, it feels really good. And I love just promoting and being part of things that feel. I'm a feeler, so I base everything on feeling.
I see. As you were talking today, I think I should interview Kelly too.
Yeah.
Thank you for
So,
having me. It was
yeah.
such an honor, you know. And big hug to all you listeners, all this spiritual being, all you community, and I'll keep you
Mm.
guys in touch. I appreciate this welcoming.
Yes, thank you, Anna Suya, for being here. So yes. And I want to thank everybody for joining episode 186, Midwifing a New Humanity with Leadership, Empowerment, and Unconditional Love. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.